A moment that has left both political pundits and ordinary South Africans amazed has been played out as the High Court officially dismissed President Cyril Ramaphosa's latest public apology, terming it inadequate, ambiguous, and lacking any genuine substance. In a move further adding to rising cynicism in the ANC government, the court has insisted on a clear report on how Ramaphosa plans to confront South Africa's deepening socio-economic and political crisis. This dismissal did not come easy. The president has endured a torrent of criticism for months now regarding his government's inability to address corruption, steer the economic slump, provide basic services, and administer justice. His recent apology made in a live televised national address was meant to placate a restless public. In that speech, Ramaphosa acknowledged leadership failures and misjudgments, but the High Court has held those words to be hollow without a specific actionable change agenda. The apology of the president, while emotionally phrased, provided no actual steps, no date, and no system for accountability. South Africans, the court suggested, do not only need apologies but action. The ruling emphasized that the country stands at a fork in the road and that it is no longer acceptable for its head of state to apologize without vowing real change. This judgment is an unusual but serious defiance by the courts of the country's highest office. Legal observers say it is a warning not just to Ramaphosa but to all politicians who have relied so heavily on the use of words and been so weak on outcomes. The judgment comes as public anger and discontent escalate. Load shedding still cripples homes and enterprises. Crime is still rampant. Unemployment, especially among the youth, has reached devastating levels with many young South Africans feeling locked out of opportunities in their own country. Even dedicated ANC followers have begun to show disillusion with the party's leadership. The ANC has held sway over South African politics for decades. But over the last few years, it has come increasingly under attack for being complacent, corrupt, and increasingly disconnected from the daily reality of ordinary citizens. In the townships, on university campuses, on social media, and in the rural towns, citizens are calling for more than lip service. Many South Africans see the High Court's demand as a long overdue step toward genuine accountability. We've become used to apologies with no change. What the High Court is doing is historic. It's demanding governance by action, not by words, said one political commentator during a panel discussion on national television. For many, the judgment is about far more than a single speech. It represents a direct confrontation with a culture of political promises left unfulfilled inside the ANC itself. The court's decision has created visible panic. Members are in fear that this will lead to a political domino effect with more institutions both within and outside of government calling the president and the party to account in ways that have only really happened since the beginning of democracy. Insiders indicate that emergency talks are already in motion with top ANC leaders urging Ramaphosa to hasten the preparation of a complete reform package to be submitted to the court and the country. Still, no explicit evidence exists that such a plan does. Indeed, Ramaphosa does seem to have been taken aback by the forceful judicial rebuff. Although the president has projected himself as a thoughtful, measured leader, detractors claim that the very same prudence has frequently resulted in paralysis when it comes to decision-making, a failing the court's ruling now exposes. ANC Secretary General Fel Malula tried to curtail the political fallout in a press conference. The president is dedicated to transparency. We hold the courts in respect and will adhere. But South Africans need to grasp that change is a process, said Malula. His words were immediately criticized, with opposition pointing out that this is the same process the ANC has offered for more than a decade and a half with no quantifiable achievement. The High Court has now ordered President Ramaphosa to provide within 14 days a complete detailed plan for how his administration intends to approach corruption, economic disparities, young people's joblessness, and building confidence in state institutions. The strategy needs to have clear time frames, name departments or entities to be responsible for implementation, and mechanisms for public scrutiny. Legal commentators have highlighted that it is not a request but a binding judicial decree, one that has the potential to reshape the executive-judicial power balance in South Africa. If Ramaphosa cannot satisfy this requirement, analysts propose the court might consider a variety of interventions ranging from more judicial oversight of the executive to even inviting parliamentary action. Such measures, though infrequent, are not unknown within international democratic frameworks, and there would be a dramatic change within South Africa's power dynamics. For the first time in years, the courts now seem to be pushing back vigorously against executive shortcomings, an action that could galvanize similar efforts throughout other sectors of government. Across the country, the reaction has been charged. Civil society actors, anti-corruption bodies, and community leaders have welcomed the ruling. Social media platforms have echoed the moment with slogans such as #NoMoreApologies, #ActionOutwards, and #Ramaphosa trending for days. Eloquent words by politicians have fooled us for too long, offered a Johannesburg activist. This ruling is saying if you can't deliver with action, then you shouldn't be at the helm. For many ordinary South Africans, this is no longer a question of politics, it is about survival. Years of rolling blackouts, rising prices, crumbling infrastructure, and widespread joblessness have pushed patience to its limits. We've been patient. We've listened. We've waited. Now it's time for the president to show us he can lead or make way for someone who can, said a community leader in Soto. Several political observers think the court's ruling might give opposition parties heart, as they have long criticized Ramaphosa for moving too slowly and being too hesitant in addressing both the nation's crisis and the internal rot of the ANC. If the president is unable to deliver a compelling plan by the court-ordered deadline, it might give his critics an unassailable narrative as the country enters the next election cycle. Others caution that the ANC, which is already divided internally, might view this as an opportunity to rally around the president and avoid further political instability. But even that course of action has risks. Defending a president seen as weak could alienate voters further, who expect and are demanding bold, decisive action. How the next 2 weeks play out will be of more than just local interest in South Africa. Foreign governments, investors, and international watchdogs will be watching closely to see whether the country's government is serious about reform. If they fail to satisfy the court, it could further erode South Africa's reputation abroad, repel potential investors, and exacerbate the economic crisis.